Early in the morning, Steve and I were sitting under a bridge, quietly cooking potatoes. Everything around us felt calm and still. Then we heard a truck drive over the bridge above us. Steve stood up and started packing his things, and I did the same. We put out the fire and stepped out from under the bridge, climbing up onto the road. Vegetables were scattered across the asphalt, leading farther down the road. The atmosphere felt unusual, but we decided to follow them. Soon we reached a crossroads where a house stood nearby. Suddenly we heard strange footsteps. They sounded like they were behind the house, and then inside it. We slowly moved closer. Then the footsteps stopped. Using vines, we climbed up and entered through a window. Inside, the building was empty, but the rooms felt unusual. There were boards and chairs arranged like a classroom. We searched the building and found an empty kitchen. Soon after, unfamiliar sounds echoed through the halls. Some doors were locked. But one room stood out. Inside, we found microphones and strange equipment. Then we heard someone near the house. We ran outside, but no one was there. Suddenly, we noticed BLOOP. He stood in the valley below, completely still, watching us. We decided to head into the forest to stay hidden. We moved through leaves and bushes, but the sounds didn't fade. Deeper in the forest, we spotted a tall tower. Eventually, we reached a village. It looked abandoned. We entered the backyard of one house and knocked on the window. No one answered, but the lights were on. As we walked around the house, the strange sounds returned. We moved faster. The door was locked, but Steve managed to open it. Inside, the house felt abandoned, yet not entirely empty. After searching and finding nothing, we were about to leave when Steve discovered a hatch. It led to a basement where we found armor stored in chests. Soon after, we heard footsteps again and decided to stay hidden. Someone entered the house, walked around, and then seemed to leave. We stayed quiet and waited. After waiting, we carefully left the basement. And stepped outside. It was already light. We looked around and decided to head toward the tower we had seen earlier. As we walked away, strange sounds came from the well nearby. We turned back. The water was bubbling and a chain moved slightly. The sounds continued, so we decided to go down the well. At the bottom, we found a room filled with water. Through a doorway, there were more rooms connected underground. As we explored, we found loot in chests along the way. First, a bow and arrows. Then food. Eventually, we reached a room with closed doors. But we managed to open them using a lever. Beyond them were stairs leading upward. Strange sounds echoed again. So instead of going up, we turned to the side and entered another room. We searched the room, finding nothing. It looked like a storage area with barrels, as if drinks or supplies had once been kept there. Just as we were about to leave, we heard footsteps. We went back and hid behind the barrels. The atmosphere felt heavy and tense. Someone entered the room, walked around, and then left. After a while, we came out of hiding and realized we were trapped. The door wouldn't open. Steve took a step back and forced it open. We escaped outside and continued forward. Suddenly, a siren interrupted the silence. It was Siren Head, standing in the forest and watching us. We hid behind the nearest car. From there, Steve noticed a way into an attic through a flooded yard. We climbed up using a ladder. Inside, we found strange items, a clock, beds, and a chest with loot. We decided to wait. Siren Head didn't leave, but the sound grew quieter. We could still see him through the window. At one moment, we ran from the attic, circled the house, and rushed down the street. We entered a basement and waited again. It seemed quiet, but as soon as we stepped outside, the sounds returned. Steve decided it was time to leave by car. We found one vehicle, but it was locked. We ran through the backyards, passing between trees and jumping over a fence. Then we spotted another one, a small pickup. I climbed into the back, and Steve got into the driver's seat. We drove away from the village. The road was steep as we passed through the streets and reached the highway. Leaving the dirt road behind, we continued forward. I didn't know where we were going, but we didn't stop. Steve brought us to a place filled with giant towers and antennas. Nearby stood an abandoned radio station. We got out of the vehicle and turned on the nearest switches we could find. Following the path from them, we reached a tower. Steve pointed toward the massive antennas ahead, but strange siren sounds interrupted us. We turned back and saw Siren Head again. We hid inside a tower filled with old radio equipment. When the sounds faded, we interacted with the controls and briefly caught a radio signal before it disappeared. We continued toward the large antenna towers. Along the way, we noticed a helicopter. And once again heard the siren. When we reached the tower, we climbed the stairs to the top. It was dark inside. Steve activated some switches, and then I followed him back down the stairs. We exited near another building. Inside, it was abandoned. While searching, we found keys. They belonged to a car. We left the building and went outside, where the vehicle was waiting. We got in and drove away from that place through a tunnel. The end.